What is going on, y'all? This is John with Facemask Fantasy, bringing you new fantasy content every day right here on this channel. So if you have not hit that subscribe button, please do. But without further ado, let's get into some fantasy talk. And today we're going to get through the Ravens running back depth chart. Just this morning, the Ravens signed Latavius Murray, formerly of the Saints, to a one-year deal worth up to $2 million. This after the Ravens signed Devonta Freeman and Le'Veon Bell to their practice squad, as well as Trenton. Baltimore not only had to replace J.K. Dobbins and Justice Hill, but they had to replace Gus Edwards in their lineup, all of whom will miss the 2021 season with knee injuries. Well, in the case of Justice Hill, it wasn't Achilles. And I want to start this off by saying none of these signings are taking me away from Ty'Son Williams. I am still very high on Ty'Son Williams, but seeing as this offense typically produces two fantasy-relevant running backs and is the most run-heavy team in the NFL, whoever emerges from this trio of Murray, Freeman, or Bell as the number two here will have some decent fantasy value. So let's start off with Latavius Murray. He's 31, and he spent the offseason and the summer pretty much looking done for the Saints. But that said, he remained one of the league's better backups in 2020. Now, he was replaced on the Saints this past offseason by a younger back in Tony Jones, despite the fact that Tony Jones Jr. does not have the athletic profile that we typically covet, as he comes with 4.68 speed and 15th percentile spark athleticism. One has to wonder if at 31, an age that we typically see running backs fall off at, if he just doesn't have it anymore. But basing it off of last season, 4.5 yards per carry, again, he can also catch passes. 88.5% of his passes were caught last season, highest average of his career, in a year where Drew Brees was lost for much of the season, so we can't say it was a product of Brees and his insane accuracy. So that is impressive. And it would seem, just from the outside looking in, his size and physicality would be a good fit in the Baltimore offense. Now, the Ravens also signed Devonta Freeman to their practice squad. The last time we saw Freeman get a significant amount of work was in 2019, in which he started 14 games for the Falcons as their lead back at 27 years old. Right now, he's 29. The result of that season 2 years ago was a 3.6 yards per carry average and 2 touchdowns on the ground, despite the fact that he saw 184 rushes. His value came in the pass game, though, that season. It was a season in which he saw 70 targets, caught 59 of them for 410 yards and 4 touchdowns, but it was only at a 6.9 yards per route clip. He's 2 years removed from that season once again, and in that season, he finished RB26 in standard and RB20 in PPR, and that was as the Falcons' RB1. He's 29 now, couldn't make the Saints roster this past offseason. In limited work last season for the Giants in place of Saquon Barkley, his yards per carry actually dropped to 3.2, and he was replaced by Alfred Morris and Wayne Gallman. All right, he is a break glass in case of emergency type signing. I am not looking at Devonta Freeman for any sort of fantasy value this season. A guy who could upset things is Le'Veon Bell, who was actually the first running back that this team signed in the wake of their running back injuries. In Kansas City last season, Bell started 2 games and rushed for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns on 64 carries. In the 2 games he started for the Jets before being traded last season, he finished with 4.6 points and 6.7 points in fantasy. And in the 2 games that he started in KC, he finished with fantasy totals of 5.5 and 3.9. And he averaged just 4.0 yards per carry. Now, he is also 2 seasons removed from being the lead back for a team. He was the lead back for the Jets, and in that season, he was the RB21 in standard leagues and the RB16 in PPR leagues. So the last time we saw him get a significant workload, he was better than Devonta Freeman. The last time we saw him get a scaled back workload, it wasn't phenomenal. Even in his spot starts, of which he had 4 last season, he never had above 6.7 fantasy points. But in 2019, he had 78 targets, 66 receptions, 461 yards, and a 7.0 yards per route average for Adam Gase and the Jets that season. And last season, he caught 15 of 19 targets for 131 yards for an 8.7 yards per route average and 1 touchdown. So he still got it in the pass game. And I believe this is where his value will come for this team. I think the pecking order here goes Ty'Son Williams, Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell, Devonta Freeman. This team will most likely rely on Latavius for the Gus Edwards role, and Bell for any receiving work. Freeman is going to be that break glass in case of emergency back. And season long, I do believe that Latavius will have value behind Ty'Son. and I believe that Bell should be rostered at least until this backfield shakes itself out, because there's a chance that Bell could take that number 2 role. But my gut is that Lat should be the backup, and seeing as Gus Edwards was a top 30 back last year, despite seeing playing time behind both Dobbins and Mark Ingram at times last season, Lat should have value as a backup to Williams. Bell could take that role if he shows himself to be anything close to his past Steelers self, but seeing as he has been quoted as saying last season that he wanted to go to a team that wouldn't give him a ton of carries and would in fact limit his touch load, I just don't see it for Bell outside of a reserve pass catching role. And Freeman again, I'm not touching. Tyson, I believe, is a mid to high end RB2 with weekly RB1 upside if he gets enough work. This team lost 3 backs, so they had to sign 3 to make up for it. The number of signings here do not bother me. They were always going to sign more than 2 backs after losing Dobbins and Hill and Edwards. The caliber of these backs in Murray, Freeman, and Bell do not scare me away from Tyson. They were all deemed not NFL roster worthy by their teams this offseason, and the only reason they're being picked up right now, outside of maybe Latavius, is the fact that the Ravens have insane bad injury luck this season. Otherwise, these guys probably aren't on any NFL rosters at this point in time. So this is not something that I'm worrying about with Tyson. He has the freshest of legs, and I'm all in on him. So what do y'all think? Do y'all think, like me, that Latavius is going to end up having the most value out of this backfield behind Tyson Williams? And do you also think, like me, that Freeman is basically done and Bell could chip in the pass game if given a shot? Put your thoughts in the comment section below. My name is John Alsace, and this is Facemask Fantasy, bringing you new fantasy content every day right here on this channel. So if you have not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for listening and have a great day.